Alright YouTube, hello, thank you for watching. Another edition of Bathtub Chemistry here, and my bathtub is pretty much out of room here, so I'm not sure what I'm going to be after bathtub chemistry. Today I'm trying to finish up some stuff with this piperine so I can move on to hopefully bigger and better things. So this is what I was able to extract from the black pepper from 100 grams. Exactly 5 grams of piperine here. It's pretty much right on with what I've normally seen people get out of black pepper and what they say about it. Typically 5%. So I still have to crystallize that out yet, but I want to work on the white pepper extraction today, get that out of the way, and then go ahead and crystallize both of these and make comparisons to see if I can tell any difference, and then kind of move on. This is the alcoholic extraction from 200 grams of white pepper. So the goal is to get that piperine out of this solution here. It's about 60 milliliters or so. We need something called potassium hydroxide. I don't know a lot about it at this point since I'm just a beginner, but when I looked this up, I came across the words chemical cremation. So I don't think this is something that you'd want to get on you. It decomposes soft tissue. Not a friendly chemical. This is actually a stronger base than what sodium hydroxide is. And sodium hydroxide itself is definitely not a nice chemical. You can probably find potassium hydroxide in some drain cleaners, I would imagine. This stuff is good at digesting fat. You can use it for cleaners, degreasers. It has dozens and dozens of uses. The data just kind of goes on and on. It's very hygroscopic, so it readily absorbs water out of the air as soon as you open it up. The little flakes of this is in flake form. If you leave them lay, within a matter of seconds, they'll be wet because it just pulls water out of the air. I believe it also pulls carbon dioxide too, if I'm not mistaken. Very, very corrosive. So the first thing we need to do is make up a solution of potassium hydroxide. I'm going to do this the same way I did my last one, just for the reason of if you start changing too many things in a procedure, then you can't really tell what caused what in the final outcome. So you typically only change one thing at a time. So even though I know this isn't right with what I'm going to be doing here a little bit later on, I'm going to do it the same way anyway. So I need 50 milliliters of ethanol. Right there. Now I need 7.5 grams of potassium hydroxide. Close enough. So you can see already, well I can anyway, that there's basically water laying on it. At least this piece here in the front right now. That's how strong of a water pooler it is. Potassium hydroxide is soluble in alcohols, but you know, strangely you really wouldn't know it. You just got to kind of jackhammer the pieces all up. Eventually it does go into the ethanol. So this is actually going to be a 15% solution. I've seen people do this with 10. I saw some other videos where they might have used 20, I'm not sure. So that's 7.5 grams and 50 milliliters of ethanol. So after about 20 or 30 minutes it does all completely dissolve. You just got to kind of keep working with it. The last time I did this I just heated the solution up on the hot plate a little bit. Got it to dissolve faster. It's pretty warm. So I need 65 milliliters of some pretty clean water. My measuring cylinder is absolutely huge. A couple more drops. $500 milliliter cylinder to measure 65 milliliters of water. Makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. Now I need something to heat that up in. I don't have a lot of beakers, so sometimes you got to plan ahead. so you don't run yourself out of beakers. Now I just used deionized water here for this experiment. The channel that I watched to get ideas on this. He used something called Millique water, which I don't know anything about other than Millique just screams trademark. So I'm sure it's a trademark name on the water from a chemical company, no doubt, because big companies are crazy on trademarks. But I think Millique water is just basically an ultra pure water, demineralized and deionized. I don't know if the purity of the water will have any effects on crystallization of this or not. So anyway, 65 milliliters of water. What the? Well, now I think I know where all the shit's coming from. That's exactly what's happening. That is exactly what has just made me lose my mind. Pieces of rubber coming off of this. So as soon as you put the temperature probe in, pieces of this shit go down in the water. This ain't my first rodeo here. I've learned a lesson from this shit. Flip that guy on, heat that up to 60 degrees C, because this hot plate overshoots temperature. So if you want it at 65, you better set it slightly below 60. Warm that up. Now we add in the 15% potassium hydroxide solution. Drop a stir bar in there. Heat that one up to 65. One thing I will say for this little piece of junk beaver, this thing heats extremely fast compared to some other stuff that I've looked at here. And kind of the downfall to something heating extremely fast is the fact that it's probably a lot more likely to overshoot your temperature. And that's exactly what this beaver does. By like 6-7 degrees C sometimes, it doesn't cut back far enough to the bottom of the low side of the temperature setting. So once we get these both to about 65 degrees C, pull this off the heat. It's a little over. I'm not going to get these the same, at least not the way that I'm going about things. Just take and add this water in drop by drop. And it's kind of cool because you get kind of this white, kind of milky precipitant. Actually, it's not so much white now, it's actually more yellow. And just keep adding the water in until you use up everything that's in the beaker. That is the piperine there falling out of the solution because it's insoluble in water. It's weird how it just kind of like falls off the glass. When I kind of swirled this up, it left residue of the solution higher up on the glass from what the actual level is here. And when you run the water over it, well, I think I got it all now. It just kind of, you can see where it just drops it right down into the solution when the water hits it. Kind of a pretty weird phenomena. It does take quite some time to add all this water in, basically drop by drop. So then we just let this cool down to room temperature. It's probably at least 110 degrees Fahrenheit or so. And then we'll add in some more water. We're going to add in some more cold water. You can see the piperine crashing out of the solution there. So that was 65 milliliters that I added there. That was another 65. So the stirring's on there. Kind of looks to me like all of it might have crashed out. I'll stir it for about a half hour. Alright, after letting this stir for about 30 minutes or so, take it off the stir. Just stick a bag over top of it or something to keep dust or something from falling in it. Because dust definitely likes to fall into the glassware, that's for sure. Which may not always be that big of an issue, but if you're working with concentrated hydrogen peroxide or something like that, dust can certainly be an issue in glassware with that. So we'll find us a nice cushy spot somewhere and let it set for several hours. I kind of think at this point this is probably just going to have to set overnight though. Don't really think that it matters really how long it sets, to be honest with you. Get a fresh start on it tomorrow. Alright, after setting overnight, it's time to filter the piperine off. Looks pretty beautiful. Gonna foam back into the water pump. And I just cleaned the water out. You son of a gun. Try to squeeze some of the water out of it. Don't know how much of the piperine might have came through the filter. This is a G2 grit, so I might have to go ahead and swap out the flask here and filter this again, because there still may be it could possibly be some in the flask that made it through, because it's not a super fine filter. A G2 is only like, let me see, a G1 is 50 to 70, so a G2 would be 30 to 50, I think. I mean, this was basically the water layer here, pretty much, that came off of it first. My lighting really stinks. I don't have another large 500 milliliter flask to just swap this flask out and then pour this back through to see if there's any more that's still in the solution there. The only other flask I have is a small 250 here. It kind of looks like there's still piperine in that. Well, I do have a G4 grit here. I didn't want to use this, but maybe I will. I don't know. Anything I really know to do is pull it through this G4 and see what happens. But man, these things are a pain in the ass to clean up. I don't like using these pretty glass filters because once the stuff gets wedged in there, getting it out's a real pain in the ass. Yeah, I don't know why it foams like that, but man, I don't want that foaming back into my damn bucket again. Obviously it's going to have vacuum for a while because that's a hell of a fine filter. On a filter that fine, you pretty much have vacuum whether there's something in the filter funnel or not. I don't want that shit foaming back in my bucket again. I had a hell of a time cleaning that out. But there was some more that was still in that solution. But I'm really kind of scratching my head on this because it ain't yellow at all. Yeah, I don't really completely get that. I got like 6,000 watts of light on it. 6,000 watts of light and you wouldn't even really be able to tell because it still doesn't look right, but it is definitely not yellow. The batch from the black pepper was definitely yellow. Of course, this is saturated as all can be. 35 grams. But yeah, I'm not sure. Just not sure about that. I got some kind of really interesting layers going here. I dumped some isopropyl in that funnel filter there to unclog it and get the piperine out of it. And that's the solution I ended up with. I never expected that. I have no damn idea why it just did that. So there would be ethanol in there would be water in there would be piperine in there would be isopropyl in there. Other than that, I don't know what else might be in there, but I don't think I could have done that if I would have tried to. I think I'm going to put that into a sepulatory funnel. Try to figure out what's going on in that solution. This is what I got here, 15.54 grams, but it's pretty wet. I'm kind of hoping that I'll be able to squeeze 10 out of this, but man, I don't know. 10 would be 5% of the 200 grams. It's kind of a little bit like peanut butter. You know, I almost had a thought in response to the peanut butter, but I don't understand why it's not yellow, other than to say that there's too much water in it yet. This here is pretty dry, I think. I should have tried putting this in a bag with some sodium hydroxide or something, but I just stuck one of those silica gels in there and they're basically next thing to worthless. So this is the 5 grams from the black pepper. Even that in itself isn't really technically dry. You can see how sticky it is. So I don't know if that complicates the perception of what's dry with it or not. I don't think putting this into a plastic bag has been my greatest idea in the world lately. 200 gram white pepper extraction setting on the left. 100 gram black pepper extraction setting on the right. I mean, I don't know, don't take this the wrong way, but I can't honestly say I've seen anybody on YouTube go through this much trouble to present this kind of information to you. I mean, who would have thunk? It's been a hell of a lot of work. So anyway, I appreciate you watching my video today very much. It was very long because it was very comprehensive. Take care. Have a great day.